You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington, and I am so excited to be back for this particular episode because it is the eighth birthday that I have had an opportunity to share with this community. In a few days, it'll be my 44th birthday, and I am so excited to share 44 years of wisdom. Now, when I was first thinking about this episode, I genuinely was like, oh, I have so many downloads, so many nuggets that I could share. I'm going to do a list of 44. And I instantly recognized how crazy that was. And the beauty of the Redefining Wealth app, where I go live every day, is I get to share all the nuggets and all the wisdom all the time. So I thought that we would do 4 lessons and 4 blessings that have changed my life. Now, before I jump into this episode, let's make some distinctions. I believe that I take no L's in life. That is the first kind of nugget of wisdom I can pass on. I don't believe I can take any losses. The only L's I take are lessons. And that's because no matter what happens, I do believe that things are always happening not to me, but for me. I truly believe that all things come together for my good. And so I can never see anything as a loss because as long as I am moving forward and growing through the process, then it had purpose and it was always worth it. And I know that when we're going through hard times, betrayal, difficult seasons, it doesn't feel that way. Trust me, I get it. Your girl has been through some things. But notice I say that I choose to believe. I choose to believe this because beliefs truly dictate our words, our actions, our thoughts, and ultimately the results that we get. So I choose to believe that even when things are hard, all things come together for my good. So those are the lessons. I'm going to share some lessons today that have come from some of the harder times in my life. And I'm also going to share the blessings, some of the things that I think still inevitably came from some challenging times because frustration always invites us to take inventory and find a new path. But I had to do something to break it up, you guys. So we're doing 4 lessons and 4 blessings. Now, if you have not registered for Soul Detox, which is a process that is near and dear to my heart, a concept that is near and dear to my heart, I really want you to come. It is on Friday, March 14th. And I say it's near and dear to my heart because it's a process I've been taking myself through for the last 5 years, but I've invited this community. This will be the 3rd year that we do this together. And it is a process of being willing to release the things that just don't serve you anymore. I feel like your birthday, in particular, my birthday, is always the beginning of a personal new year. It's always an opportunity to reflect on what has worked and what hasn't. And the same way that we think about a physical detox, where you have to take some time away to release the weight, to stop doing the things that have brought you to a place where you don't feel your best. I think the same way our soul is always begging for us to take that deep dive, to take that inventory and ask better questions and be willing to lose the weight, be willing to lose some things that just do not fit in this season. And that is tomorrow. We have over 400 at the time of this recording, well over 400, nearing 500 purpose chasers from all over the world who are gearing up to participate, and you are invited. So if you haven't registered, click the link in my show notes. Wherever you're listening to this, it should be there, but you can also go to patricewashington.com/soul detox. Now, before I jump into these lessons, let me do the affirmation of the week. This week's affirmation is I earned my wisdom. I am deeply grateful for the wisdom that each chapter of my life has come to teach me. I recognize that every lesson and every blessing has shaped my journey to becoming this version of myself, whom I love. I know that nothing in my life is ever wasted, so each experience has contributed to my growth and understanding. There is nothing I ever need to forgive my younger self for. I reflect on the trials and triumphs with gratitude, knowing that both have been very necessary to teach me the resilience, joy, and peace that I so cherish today. As I reflect on the insights gained from past challenges, I view them as gifts that have prepared me for all that God desires to do for me, in me, and through me. Declare with me today, I earned my wisdom. All right. I hope that affirmation was a blessing to you. So let's jump in. Now, let me say this. I definitely want to make the distinction here between knowledge and wisdom. And if you ever heard me speak on stage, you may have heard me say this. This is a really great refresher. My girlfriend, Doreen Rainey, says you don't want to have IG syndrome. Do you know what IG syndrome is? IG syndrome is the tendency to go about gathering information gathering, but never actually doing anything with it. The difference between knowledge is having the information, which many of us have good information. We listen to podcasts, we read the books, we're intelligent, we've been to school, we've gotten the degrees and certifications. Oh my, do we have so much information? But wisdom is knowing how to apply it, when to apply it, where to apply it, with whom to apply it. Wisdom is the application of the information, the knowledge. And so, as I share this wisdom, I need you to know tested, tried, and true. I believe it through and through. Okay. I'm not just talking about what I heard, I am talking about what I know. This is not just textbook stuff. This is from testimony. Okay. This is the real deal. So understand that. But I say that because I want to pass along to you that this only becomes powerful for you if you are willing to implement wherever you need to. It is not enough to just hear it. I say this so often. People think they understand what it takes to really live a life in alignment that is always like in transformation. You are always moving towards evolution. And what is my next? What is my next? That's because people hear the words and they feel familiar, but you don't know the work. And the wisdom comes from doing the work. The wisdom is from the application of hearing the principles. So as you hear this today, I want you to promise me it's my birthday. Come on now. I don't care if you hear this in October. It's my birthday in 2 days by the time this drops. And do me a favor, do yourself the favor, give yourself the gift of application. All right. So let's jump in. So let's start with the four powerful lessons. And these are the things I would say were the not so good things that taught me so much. One of the first I will say is understanding that default thinking will keep you stuck. We have to make a conscious choice to choose higher and to switch over to abundant thinking. Many of us were not raised with abundant language. The default thinking, the thing that we just kind of revert to, especially when things are not going well, these are the beliefs that first come up for us, right? Based on how we were raised, who taught us, maybe the religion that we subscribe to, all of those things. And many of us operate on autopilot. And I can tell you that because of default thinking, I allowed myself to sit in spaces or be in relationship with people for much longer than I should have. The season was up, and because of default thinking, I would revert back to some of my childhood references and my thoughts about myself, and I didn't question. And I want you to know that your biggest breakthrough will come from learning to ask better questions. It is so important that we interrogate why we believe what we believe, that we say to ourselves, who said, who benefits if I continue to live this way? Who actually is coming out on top if I continue to believe that I'm supposed to be at the bottom, if I'm supposed to be unworthy and so meek and like all of this language around being so lowly, as opposed to I'm created in God's image and I should see myself through a much higher lens than what I'm giving myself credit from. How do other people benefit from me having no boundaries and believing I don't have a right to put them in place? Right. This is why we teach from the authentic alignment tools in the Institute for Redefining Wealth. It is to help you stop operating from old programming. Many of us, that old programming is going to be the death of us. It is the death of our growth. And so I had to learn that whenever I was not operating at my highest, it's usually because I was not questioning verbal influences or modeling or different things that I witnessed, I heard, I saw as a child. I was just in the default thinking, the automatic programming, the indoctrination. That's what it is. If you ever find yourself sitting in a space of, well, this is just what it is, or this is how it's always been, or this is how my people do it, or this is how people do it where I come from, default thinking. Now, if you question it and you still choose it, that's one thing. Now you know why you do what you do. You know why you believe what you believe. But if you haven't even given yourself permission to question it, especially when you've been indoctrinated with the you don't question, this is just what it is, or if you do question, then you don't have faith or you're not trustworthy and all these things, that's the problem. So, a powerful lesson that I've learned is that default thinking keeps me stuck every time. And when I give myself permission to ask better questions, I always get better answers. Number two, as you start to question, as you start to challenge any default thinking, especially thinking that came from the herd, the tribe, right? It's from the collective group that you have associated yourself with, probably your whole life. You will start to hear murmurings or suggestions from other people that you are destroying your life simply because you are asking questions and making different choices. A powerful lesson that I have learned, and it came at the hands of someone, honestly, that I just thought better of me and understood more of my heart and my processes. They actually benefited from my work. They benefited from all of the things that I teach, but they turned around and said, "Oh, you're on the path of destruction," simply because they heard me questioning more and removing myself from more things or practices or people. And they said, "Oh, you're on the path of destruction." And the lesson that I got in prayer and meditation, and I did a whole episode about this if you want to go back and check it out, was that I was not on a path of destruction, but to the untrained eye, deconstruction can look like destruction. And when something is being destroyed, it is torn down in frustration. That is very different than deconstruction because that is the meticulous and intentional breaking down of a system, of a building, of an object, so that you can see what does not fit, what no longer works, and then rebuild it better. So whether it has been beliefs about what wealth means, when I remember when people were not on board with the idea of redefining wealth. It's so interesting now because you hear so much more about financial wellness and holistic wellness, but it wasn't as prevalent when I first started talking about it. Of course it existed, but it wasn't as prevalent, especially amongst people that look like me. And challenging the definition of wealth and how people saw it, or whether you are redefining what you want to see and feel in relationship or how you see success. Growth comes when we allow ourselves to deconstruct any false ideas that are no longer in alignment and replace it with the wisdom we have gathered. And a lot of it is that intuitive wisdom that we have gathered about ourselves. So it's not to say that now those people or places or things are wrong, but sometimes it's to acknowledge that they are wrong for us in this season of our lives. And so that is not being on the path of destruction. That is simply being in the process of deconstruction so that you can rebuild something that is authentic. And that has totally been my process over the last several years now. That leads me to my next lesson. Because I've been in this process of deconstruction and realizing that it doesn't always look good to other people or always doesn't look like something other folks want to get on board with, um, it has taken me to the lesson of choosing peace over appearances. Sometimes the thing that feels best for me doesn't look best to other people. And I have come to accept that. That is what redefining wealth is. Redefining wealth is saying, hey, I know that this is the prevailing standard. I know that this is culturally acceptable. I know that this is typical in this belief system or practice. Like I know, and I also know it doesn't work for me. And so I am choosing peace over appearances. One of the places I got the biggest lesson with this was when I started dating. And that is where I realized that just because something looks good on paper does not mean it is good for Patrice or her soul. I had to recognize when a man appeared to check all the boxes, but was not aligned for me energetically, spiritually, and emotionally. I had to understand, right, that they could be tall, dark, handsome, rich, be in the same field as me, know all the same people who speak their praises, have a million followers on Instagram, private jet. They could have all the things. And yet, if I did not have peace in their presence, it was not for Patrice, right? Many people that are in the Redefining Wealth community, many of the ladies that I talk to in the Redefining Wealth app on a daily basis are getting used to making peace based decisions for the first time. And I will tell you that making peace based decisions changes everything. It shifts the way that you see yourself, it shifts your level of possibility and expectancy. You start to believe that better is always available. A lot of times we don't choose peace over appearances because we've learned to settle in what other people see for us, right? The appearance of the thing. If many of us had learned to choose peace earlier, there's a lot of jobs that would have never been taken or applied for. There's a lot of marriages that would not have happened. There's a lot of moves that would not have been made. But we learned to do things for the appearance and completely ignored our souls. And this is what I say at Soul Detox. Your soul is exhausted from being ignored. When we choose peace, we choose ourselves, we choose our souls. When we choose peace, we choose alignment. When we choose peace, we choose authenticity. We don't always choose agreement. We don't always choose validation. We don't always choose acceptance from others. But the thing that helps me sleep at night is knowing that I'm choosing peace over appearances every time. Because the path to alignment feels very awkward because you're making a lot of changes. You're having to shift a lot of things. You're just doing so many different things to find your way. But you start to know and become familiar with what peace feels like when it feels good in your soul, in your heart, in your belly. Your mind is at rest because you chose peace, even though there feels like chaos uh, in the background. That's okay because you made the choice for you. And that is such a great lesson that I've gotten. I believe that God confirms things in reverse. And sometimes I think God wants us to go first and make the difficult choices, but most of us won't choose because we don't want to be responsible for the outcome or the consequences. I remember when I stopped talking to this gentleman in particular that looked good on paper, but I didn't have peace in my soul. I didn't have peace in my belly in his presence. I ended up meeting another woman later at an event who also dated him. And she dated him for much longer. And in full transparency, what she described was a nightmare. And I felt like that was God coming to validate through her that I had made the best choice for me, even though it never got to that point. I never experienced the things that she did. Something in my belly said, this is not for you. And I went with peace over appearances. And this is what happens when you learn to stop gaslighting yourself. When you've been in a psychologically abusive space for so long, you keep questioning and questioning and like, oh, am I overreacting? Am I overthinking? Am I doing too much? No, you're not. Go with peace. That is what I have learned to tell my soul at this big age. Go with peace. We go with peace. Go with peace. Every appearances. Another big lesson that I have gotten is misalignment will manifest misery every time. When we keep making decisions out of lack, out of fear, out of desperation, we only get more lack, more fear, more desperation. And the moment that we start choosing from a place of belief in alignment, I believe I have the right to feel good in my body, to feel good in relationship, to feel good in how I express my work in the marketplace. When we choose from a place of alignment, abundance can't help but follow. Our whole life will change. And misalignment for me, every time I have tried to launch a product or program from misalignment because a guru said, right? Or this is the best practice in the industry. My energy has been impacted. I'm forcing and I'm not in flow. It feels doable, but it doesn't feel like God is in it for me. It doesn't feel great. It never works. But when I do anything from a place of complete alignment, oh, this feels good. This is the direction I want to go in. My energy is so high. This feels so aligned for who I am and where I am right now. Magic, miracles happen. I want to do an episode soon called Your Soul is the Strategy. And when we operate from complete alignment, this is who I want to serve. This is how I want to serve. This is me using uh, the gifts that God gave me in the best possible way in this season. And I love it. I feel good. The energy is there. It always feels like everything comes together for my good. This is exactly what I want more people to get to at Redefining Wealth Live. And yes, tickets go on sale March 15th. There's only 44 golden tickets to join me in the room because what feels aligned for me is to go deeper with fewer people. I know that the industry says go bigger and go bigger and go bigger. I really want to go deeper. My personality is truly one that thrives in intimacy. I like to know people. I like to know their stories. I like to know where they're from. I like to do life with people. I love that I've had so many clients for 3 and 4 and 5 years because I've gotten to witness and support and usher them into more authentic living, actually redefining wealth for themselves. And I didn't want my vision for Redefining Wealth Live is to have bigger impact virtually. So we are having a full hybrid experience that is going to be just beautiful. You'll still have breakout rooms in your wisdom circles. I'll still have team members on virtually. You'll still be able to do a lot of what's happening in the room, but I want to lock arms with the 44. And yes, I did choose 44 in honor of my birthday. It's interesting, the space actually supports 60. And again, I could stretch it to 60 in this beautiful virtual space in Buckhead, Atlanta. But I feel good at 44. And I'm going for the 44 golden tickets. And I believe whoever is in that space, it is going to be a beautiful experience. I believe chains will break, but it'll be beautiful because it's aligned. And so your soul is the strategy. My soul led me to that, not a coach, not a guru. My soul gave me the vision for that. And I'm following through with obedience. And I know I'm probably dropping other little nuggets in here. Catch them where you can. All right, let's get to the four powerful blessings. And these are just the good that keeps on giving. It's just the good stuff that I've picked up along the way. So, first blessing has been recognizing that radical honesty truly is the gateway to radical acceleration. I have a client, Dr. Lisa, the soulful surgeon, who actually says radical honesty is kindness, is loving kindness. And I love that too. Radical honesty has brought such good into my life. It has truly illuminated for me the relationships that need to stay and the relationships that needed to be released. It has really illuminated for me paying attention to what feels good and moving in that direction. What do I really want and moving in that direction? Radical honesty is about not shoulding on ourselves. I don't want to live from what I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want to live in what feels good for me now, what feels alive, what feels aligned. Because the second that we get clear and aligned, then we can more easily and readily let go of the things that are not for us. And when we can let go, what do? We open up the space for doors to be swung open. When I walked away from the Steve Harvey morning show, where I was America's money maven and the money maven of the Steve Harvey show for 4 years. And in 2017, when I launched the Redefining Wealth podcast, it was wonderful to launch it and still be a part of the show. And did it help with early success? Absolutely. But there came a point where I had to be radically honest about how I was straddling the fence. And I had this deep sense that I needed to go all in on the podcast, that I just had to go all in. I couldn't straddle, I couldn't hem and ha. It was time to give it my full attention. And so I made the decision in May of 2018 to close the door on the Money Maven of the Steve Harvey Morning Show. And it was the best thing that happened. A lot of people think that Redefining Wealth, the podcast, took off because of the Steve Harvey show, not realizing I was really only there 7 months or so. The real growth in the podcast came a year or so after, because I was able to go all in, be radically honest about what I believed was possible for the podcast. And here we are, well over 20 million downloads later, and purpose chasers all over the world. So while I did walk away from something that seemed, amazing, and it was amazing to many people, at the end of the day, radical honesty brought me to being more aligned with my true calling. And that is where opportunities really began to flow for me. Next, another powerful blessing has been recognizing that intimacy is the truest catalyst for transformation. Intimacy, I've heard it say this way, means in to me see, the opportunity to really go deeper again with people. I used to believe that just getting information was enough to change lives. And that's how I coached. Like early on, when I was coaching, I would say, hey, you have this 6-week program, you better leverage it. You have this 12-week, and not from a mean place, just from like, hey, okay, I'm giving you the information, now run with it. And the way Redefining Wealth has evolved, and now we have the stages of Redefining Wealth. What I realize is, in the awakening stage, when people are really becoming aware of where they've been on autopilot, you cannot just go through a 6-week program and keep it pushing. You can, but it won't really give you the transformation you're looking for. I've since learned that holding space for people, right, where they can be vulnerable, have community, have authentic conversation is so important. And that requires them allowing me to look into their lives, but them also being able to ask me the questions and intimacy, right? The truest or greatest transformation I've had in a coaching relationship came from my current coach, who I've now been with for 5 years, since the beginning of 2021. So 4 years. And it has been so intimate because I've shared things with her from radical honesty that I had never shared, even with myself, that I had never given myself permission to fully express. And that is what opened me up to really change, right? Having surface level relationships will never create genuine transformation. When we cannot be radically honest with ourselves and then have some people in our corner that we can be radically honest with, nothing changes. And so the biggest blessing for me over the last 4 years is having so much intimacy. My prayer partnership life has become so much more intimate and not surface level. My coaching relationships, both with my coach and then also with the clients I serve one-on-one, it is very intimate. My romantic partner, who I introduced on the podcast last month, the intimacy that we have is what has transformed my heart. It has introduced me to so much that I didn't even realize was missing, but I also didn't even know was possible. So, intimacy for me has been the truest catalyst for deep transformation. Another blessing that I've learned, you've heard me say this if you've been here for a while, Monique Coleman, back in the day, High School Musical, our girl, she's been here on the podcast before. She is the one who said to me that our lives will only grow to the extent we're willing to heal. She actually said your business, and she was told that at an event by someone. And that has been such a blessing to me from the moment that she said it, because what it did was really help me expand redefining wealth to really illuminate that the unhealed parts of us, the places where we're still misaligned and inauthentic in the pillars, are the real reason that we are not getting to the career or financial success we desire. It's not until we're willing to do the inner work. And I have seen, as I've navigated separation, divorce, business changes and challenges, and all the things, that in each of these stages, no matter what, I have been willing to do the inner work. It is never just about what we see externally. What we see externally, what we experience externally, is really the byproduct of what is going on internally. And the moment we commit to deeper healing, everything expands. At least that has been my experience. Every time I'm willing to go deeper, I'm willing to examine where I might be feeling resentful. Is there any unforgiveness I'm harboring? Is there any place I'm not being radically honest? What do I genuinely want in this season? What lights me up? What disrupts my peace? Every time I'm willing to just do that before the busy work, because it doesn't matter about, oh, whether you post on Mondays or Wednesdays. It doesn't matter if you are on LinkedIn 7 days a week or 2 days a week. It doesn't matter if your reel clips are 35 seconds or 59 seconds. All the things that we obsess over and use as the busy work to avoid from doing the hard work, that's the thing. And the heart work is what produces healing. And that healing is what produces the results we actually want. So whenever I'm experiencing an outcome, right, professionally or wherever I'm experiencing an outcome, I don't try to change the fruit. My early business cards back in like 2010 used to say, Patrice Washington, changing roots, changing fruits, changing lives. What did that mean? We don't change fruit just by changing fruit. We don't change the tangible outcomes that we have by just, you don't walk up to an apple tree and say you need to be an orange tree and then the fruit just switches. No, you have to deal with the roots. You may have to pluck some things up. You may have to plant some new things, but you don't just change fruit. In order to change your life, you have to change the roots. And that is what we mean when we talk about our lives only growing to the extent we're willing to heal. Your business life, your career life will only grow to the extent you're willing to heal. We can't just keep looking at the work and money pillars. And as a matter of fact, something that I learned from launching our pillar assessment. If you haven't seen this, you should. It's at patricewashington.com/assessment. And I have been working for almost a year on developing an assessment. It's a 60-point assessment that allows you to see which pillar is the pillar that actually needs your attention in this season. It gives you a percentage, but then it also goes deeper and shares with you the 5 building blocks of that pillar, because you may be doing things in that pillar and labeling it the fifth pillar and thinking that it was all about nutrition, but maybe it's about movement. Maybe it's about sleep. Maybe it's about just developing your mental fitness. Like, it could be any number of things. And so I have 5 building blocks, right, that lead up to each one of the pillars. And this is a way for you to take some next best steps and figure out what you may need to do to heal. So I'll put it in the show notes. Actually, let me make a note, because I'm good for forgetting. It's over 40 brain. Hello. Um, but head over to patricewashington.com/assessment if you haven't taken it already. The students in the Institute for Redefining Wealth, as well as in Pillar, have really been raving about how it's given them a roadmap for what they need to work on, i.e., what you may need to heal in this season. And then here's my 4th powerful blessing: understanding that I only want what wants me as me. Let me say that again. I have come to believe and learn that I only want what wants me as me, not as a version of me, not as the version that they want, not as the version that they can control, that they can police, that they can manipulate or confuse. No, I only want what wants me as me. If I don't love it, I don't want it. If it comes with confusion, I don't want it. If it comes with performance, I don't want it. If it comes with manipulation, I don't want it. If it comes with negativity and a bad attitude, I don't want it. If it comes with talking crazy, talking loud, being aggressive, I don't want it. If I have to pretend to be something I'm not, I won't do that. When I stopped chasing and started embodying, everything changed. When I stopped chasing from the lens of, oh, if I put this on, if I smell this way, if I talk this way, if I change my voice, if I, bat my eyelashes, hey, no, don't want it. I only want what wants me. I have to be able to show up in my full confidence. And then sometimes in my little girl, this is too much for me today, right? Like I have to be able to be held and embraced, not just by a romantic partner, but by my girlfriends, by my team members. I have to be able to wear the cape and take the mask off in the same place. Being in the Redefining Wealth app every day, going live every day. At the point of this recording, we're at about 90 or so lives in, which is crazy. I started on December 15th, 2024. And there are days when I am a perfect 10. Like everything is clicking on all cylinders. I am serving. We are doing 50-minute lives in there. I am coaching my butt off. And then there is Christmas Day 2024, when I realized I was grieving because so many of my practices from throughout the years, the people attached to them were no longer here. Two of those people passed in 2024. And it was the first Christmas I didn't have my daughter. And it was the realization that all of the Christmas brunches and Christmas Eve traditions that I had for 15 years married, but almost 20 years with my former husband were gone. And I knew they were gone the years before, but in 2023, I was in Paris with my daughter and my nephew. In 2022, I was on a cruise with Reagan. It didn't hit me until I was still in 2024 that was all gone. And I still have made the commitment to go live every single day in the app. But what did I get to do? I got to share that this is real life. And this is what I'm experiencing. This is where I am right now. And it was well received. I had people send me messages and say, because you shared, it normalized some things for me. It was a blessing to me. Why do I say that? Because I only want to be in spaces that want me. I only want to be in spaces that want me as me. And so, what I love about that space is because we lead with authenticity and a spirit of community, a spirit of like-heartedness and vulnerability. It's okay to be that. I don't have to come in the app and perform. I don't have to get on this podcast and perform. I'm not getting on YouTube to perform. If I have to be in performance mode, I don't want it. I just want to be in Patrice mode every day, all day. The good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. It all gets to come. And I think that is the one of the most beautiful lessons that I have received in these nearly 44 years, is that it's okay to be all of me. It's okay to not be on all the time. It's okay to not be trying to operate from perfection. It is okay to not want to tap dance for people, walk on eggshells, contort, conform. It's okay, because the people who are assigned to me will always feel my heart, my love, my energy, and they will always know that I am here. A part of my purpose is about helping them amplify. It's about helping them redefine wealth for themselves. It's about helping them live a life that is more authentically aligned. It is about helping them command the stage of their life, give voice to their truth. The people who are assigned to me will know that. And so, as I begin to close this out, I just want to say again what an honor it is and it has been to spend I believe, my 8th birthday with this podcast, learning and growing and evolving right before your eyes. Shout out to Dr. Stephanie Barnes, who is in. She's been a VIP day client as well, student in Pillar Mastery. And she said she listened to all of the podcast episodes, and to hear the way that I have grown. I think that if I actually go back and listen to all the episodes, I would probably weep because I know how much I have grown in this time. And I am so grateful for this podcast because it has been a catalyst for that growth. It has been a catalyst for accountability. It has truly been the constant in my life over, man, nearly a decade now. We're just 2 years shy of a decade, that has really taught me who I am and what I am made of and what is possible when you really give your all and put your energy and effort into something that you genuinely believe is a blessing to people. And I believe my first grade teacher, Ms. Boynton, who taught me, whenever you know something, you have a responsibility to share with friends. I believe that Ms. Boynton is so proud of how many friends I've had an opportunity to share with. From the Steve Harvey days with millions of viewers and listeners, to this podcast reaching 20 million downloads, to being on stages of 10 and 12,000 people, to the many, many interviews. Oh my gosh, too many to count. So many talk shows, so many TV appearances, like so much print publications. Wow, what a 44 years it has been. And I have to say, in my heart of hearts, I genuinely believe we are only just getting started. And I'm so grateful for this community. So, listen, if any of these lessons have resonated with you, please feel free to share in the comments, and know that you can share with someone you love. We don't want to do this journey alone. And if you know that you have any beliefs, habits, patterns that you want to detox, join me for Soul Detox. Again, patricewashington.com/soul detox. I would love to serve you. And if you've just been craving a space where you can evolve with people who get it, then I want to invite you to come into the Redefining Wealth community. You can find it at redefiningwealth.app, but also just download the app on your Android or iOS device. And I'd be remiss to not say, I would love for you to consider joining me at Redefining Wealth Live 2025. It's happening September 12th through 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. This is about full body transformation, intimate space where that can really happen, where we can lock arms, look eye to eye, and really get to the root of any of the stuff that just does not belong with you in this season. Sometimes the things that we were praying for in one season will kill us in the next. That's the truth. I know that to have been true for me. And so it's time that we live abundantly, freely, with more peace, joy, and love than we ever thought possible. I hope this is a blessing to you. So until next time, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. I'll talk to you later.